I think I have finally entered my romantasy era. I've read a few here and there. I read Fourth Wing, I read the first ACOTAR, I read the first few books of the Throne of Glass series, and I enjoyed them, but I just was never that much of a fantasy person. I didn't really get it until the other day I read Metal Slinger, and I wish that I knew how much I was going to end up loving that book, because I wish I had read it for a video, but I just ended up loving it way more than I thought I would. It's a romantasy, and I don't want to get too much into it. One, because I already read it and this isn't like a wrap up, and two, because I think if you go in blind, it's way more fun. That was the first romantasy I read where I really was like, oh, I get it. I get the romantasy girlies. Like, this is doing it for me 100%. Twists and turns, and there was just so much going on. Romance, such a good cliffhanger. I just loved it, and I think that is finally what did it, and now I am just ready to enter my romantasy era. So come with me for the next week while I read just romantasy books. Can you tell I'm in my fantasy era based on my ambiance video? The first book we're reading for this video is Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which is such a hype romantasy book. I feel like everyone who reads romantasy has read this. I actually tried to read this last year, I think, and ended up DNFing it for reasons I will get into. But the main character in this is Peyton, and in their world there are elites who have magical powers, and then there are ordinaries who don't have any, and it's illegal to be an ordinary. You get banished or you get killed. So even though she's an ordinary, she tricks people into thinking that she's a psychic because she has like Sherlock Holmes type abilities where she can just like tell things about people, and that's how she's survived for so long. But she ends up having a run-in with the prince Kai, and then she ends up in these trials that the kingdom puts on every 5 or 6 years, I think, and they're the Hunger Games. That is why I originally DNF'd this book. I forgot to say, I am like 60% of the way through this at this point, so I've read a decent chunk of it. But the trials, I think there's different stages, so that was just stage 1 of the trials. I think there's going to be a few more, but it is quite literally the Hunger Games. I understand being inspired by something 100%, but this is like actually copy paste. Like, it's bad. It's so similar. Honestly, it's like she didn't even try to make it seem like she wasn't copying the Hunger Games. I'm so sorry, like that sounds mean, but I don't get why not everyone is saying that. And listen, the Hunger Games are my favorite books of all time. I have reread them literally yearly since they've come out. I have them memorized. So if you're a normal person who isn't like obsessed with the Hunger Games like me, or like maybe you haven't read them in a long time, you just don't care, I get that. I do, but I am not that person. I can't. Like, guys, it's bad. If you've read it and you also are obsessed with the Hunger Games, like, I need someone to back me up in the comments or something, because it's crazy, the similarities. And that's why I DNF'd it originally, because it was just really pissing me off that she copied the Hunger Games so bad. But everybody loves this book. It's so hyped up. I see it everywhere. And besides that, I was enjoying it. So that's why I decided to give it another shot. And the sequel came out and I was just interested and I wanted to give it another shot. So I did. I started it over from the beginning and I've been reading it now. I'm 60% of the way through. And thankfully, the Hunger Games portion is over. That part of the challenge is done. So I'm hoping like that's it and I can get over it, because I do enjoy this otherwise. They have really good banter. They're very like flirty together. They have like an enemies to lovers type vibe going. It's dual POV, lots of tension. So I am enjoying it. I would be enjoying it more if it didn't rip off the Hunger Games, I have to be honest. But like I said, other than that, I am enjoying it. I don't think it's like the best book ever written. I'm not like blown away, but I am having fun and it's entertaining and I like the characters and I like where the story is going. It kind of also reminds me of like The Selection in a way. I don't want to get into like spoiler territory, but it also is kind of reminding me of that a little bit. And I really liked The Selection series, even though I was way too old to be enjoying that. I will say though, I am kind of ready to move on. I feel like it's starting to drag a little bit. I feel like instead of 60% of the way through, I should be like 80% through. I kind of want it to get going just a little bit more, but I'm having fun still, so we'll see. She's having a panic attack at a ball and he unlaces her corset so she can breathe. You're kidding. They're actually kidding. And now he's lacing it back up. I gotta go. I have finished Powerless and I actually really liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. I definitely don't think it's like a perfect book by any means, but I just had so much fun and I ended up getting really invested and did just have a really good time reading it. I think I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I think it could have been 4 stars, but again, there were some things that I didn't love about it, but I did end up having a good time. I want to do like pros and cons because I feel like that's how I've organized my thoughts in my head. What I really liked just overall the vibe, the characters, the story, the setting. Something I've realized is that when books are set in a castle, I am just obsessed. I love when books take place in a castle. I think it's so much fun and I just always eat it up. I also really liked the romance. It's a slow burn, like slow burn, which I love because I love a slow burn, and I feel like so many books say slow burn and then they're together at 50% and I'm like, no, that's not a slow burn in my opinion, but this one definitely is, which I liked. There's also a bit of a love triangle in this book, and I think the way that she wrote it is perfect because I like love triangles and I think they're fun, but sometimes I feel like authors can do a little too much with a love triangle, and this one, there's just enough to where you're like kind of giggling about it and there's jealousy scenes and tension and angst, but it's not too much. It's not like overly messy or like crazy. It's a good level of love triangle. Some things I didn't love about it was I didn't feel like it was super original. I kind of felt like I was reading a mix of other books I've read before, which is kind of extra surprising for me considering I don't normally read books like this. So for me to say that, I feel like makes it even worse. Even like aside from the Hunger Games thing, which I can't look past still, I'm sorry. I did just feel like it was another iteration of things that I've read before. I also think it was a little long. I feel like it could have been shortened up a little bit. It did kind of drag for me in places. And I also think some of the dialogue was cringy. Not all of it, but there were quite a few scenes where I was like, ooh, didn't love that dialogue choice. To me, this is like a popcorn book, like a popcorn movie. It's fun, it's entertaining, it gives the vibes that I wanted it to give. It just wasn't amazing for me. It's not like my new favorite, but I had fun. And I am going to continue and read the sequel, Reckless, as the next book in this vlog. There is a novella that is in between Powerless and Reckless that follows Hayden's best friend, which I also do want to read, but Reckless starts off right after the end of Powerless, so I kind of just want to read that story through and then go back and read the novella instead of splitting it up, because I just feel like the first and second book just flow together so well. I want to just like keep that momentum going, and then I'll probably go back and read Powerful, because I have heard Powerful is good and I am interested in that character Adina because she's not really in Powerless a ton, so I'm kind of interested to like see what her backstory is. But right now I'm reading Reckless. I have started it already, but I've only read like 10%, so nothing has really happened yet. I don't have any thoughts, but I will update when I get a little farther into it. Okay, change of scenery because I'm dog sitting this weekend, so I'm not at home anymore. But I'm pretty sure in the last clip I said I was starting Reckless and I would update you guys when something happened. Yeah, so that never happened. Literally nothing has happened in this book. It's so boring. What's going on right now? I think I'm like 70 or 80% of the way through. I thought that was going to be the first like 10 or 20% of the book, and then we were going to move on, but it has just dragged out for like 300 pages and it's actually really starting to annoy me, and I'm annoyed at myself too because like part of me wishes I could just DNF it, but I'm also invested at this point. I do want to know what happens. There's just so much filler. It's crazy. And I'm gonna be a hater. If you do not have enough story to write a trilogy, don't write a trilogy. Just make it a duology or figure something out, because this book is just the same thing over and over again and it's just getting dragged out for so much longer than it needs to. And even Kai and Peyton, they're kind of annoying me too, because I think this book is so much of just them and there's like not a lot else going on or like other characters, and their relationship is very like bantery. They put up walls with each other, they have like a facade, and I'm just like, okay, I get it, we get it, you banter, you hate each other but you also want each other. I'm just kind of tired of that dynamic, and maybe it's just because I have read them back to back, but it's getting a little tiresome. You also get the point of view of another character in this, which I was really excited for, and then you only get like 3 chapters. That point of view has like barely been in it, and I feel like that could have made the book more exciting and like made other stuff going on, but that POV is also just really boring. So I'm ready for it to be over, honestly. I think I have like 2 hours of the audiobook left, I've been switching back and forth between the audiobook and the ebook, so I think I'm gonna listen to that for a little while this morning. I have some editing I want to do and just like some other stuff, so while I'm doing that I'm gonna listen to the audiobook, and then I probably will switch over and finish it actually reading. But it's giving 2.5 stars, honestly, like maybe even 2, but I think it's just because I'm like kind of cranky right now because this book is making me cranky. I'll probably give it 2.5 stars unless the ending is like so insane and so good, maybe a 3, but I just feel like that's not gonna happen. Like, I don't know what could happen at this point that would be that crazy and that shocking and that good, so I guess we'll find out. But right now I'm not happy. You guys are not gonna believe this. Just as I'm getting over her ripping off the Hunger Games, he gets injured and she takes him to a cave, and now she has to like take his shirt off and take care of him in a cave. Lauren Roberts needs to run Suzanne Collins a check. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Okay, I have a theory. I feel like they're hinting at something, and I'm not gonna lie, I will be kind of gagged if what I'm thinking does happen, but I can't figure out why he would do that. I can't figure out why that would benefit him, but it does seem like they're hinting at something specific, so I am intrigued to see if I'm right and then to see why he would do that, because it doesn't really make sense to me right now. And I'm also happy that something interesting is finally happening. I finished Reckless, and what I thought was gonna happen happened, which makes sense. They did make it like kind of obvious, so it wasn't me being a sleuth or anything, but it ends on a cliffhanger, so it's not even gonna get juicy until the 3rd book, which I don't have my phone, but I need to look up when that comes out because I don't even know. And I do think the last 10% was better, like it was more interesting than the rest of the book, but just didn't make up for most of the book being so boring. So it's still like a 2.5, 3 star. I can't really decide. I do think the next one will be better because now there's tea, now there's drama, but overall it was very boring. Okay, I looked it up, and the 3rd book, Fearless, comes out in April, so kind of a long time, not gonna lie. That sucks. I feel like I should have just waited and read them closer, but oh well. Okay, it's time for us to do a Powerful update. Powerful is a novella that follows Peyton's best friend Adina, and it takes place during the timeline of the 1st book. So Peyton goes off to the trials, and Adina is a seamstress, and someone named Mac comes up to her and is commissioning her to make an outfit for him. So that's how her and the love interest meet each other and get closer, and that's like the catalyst for the story. And she's making him a guard uniform because he wants to try and break into the castle because someone that he's really close with is also in the trials, and he's afraid that she's not gonna make it, so he wants to go and try and break her out. So Adina's like, great, you can help me because my best friend is also in the trials. So that's the basic rundown. It is a novella, so obviously you can't get into it as much as you would a full-size novel. I did think the beginning was a little slow. I just didn't really care at first, and then it does pick up halfway through, and I think the second half is a lot more interesting. And I really liked the male main character, Mac. We haven't seen him, I don't think, in the other 2 regular books, so I'm hoping that they involve him in the 3rd book. I would love to see more of him. And the end did get me. I had a bit of a tear in my eye, but other than that I thought it was just okay. I think if you really love the series and you loved Powerless or Reckless, then definitely read it, but honestly I don't think you're missing out that much if you don't read it. I have to pick something to read next, and I'm between 2 books, Phantasma and Heartless Hunter. I've been seeing both of these everywhere, specifically Phantasma I've seen the last week or 2 all over the place. I think that one is like haunted house, there's a game, sort of like that movie Ready or Not. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting, but it's a dark, spicy romance. I think the main love interest is a phantom, and there's demons and witches and all kinds of magic, and it sounds really interesting, but definitely seems really different than anything I've read before. But I've been hearing really good things and I'm intrigued, but I think I'm leaning towards Heartless Hunter because that also just sounds so good. It's witch hunter, and they're both courting each other, I think, because he is trying to find out if she's the witch that he's been looking for, and she wants to throw him off her trail. And it's also like her best friend's brother, I think. And that also just sounds really good, and it's the week before Halloween that I'm filming this, and one of my Halloween costumes is a witch, and so I feel like I'm just in a witchy mood, and that sounds really good. So I think I'm gonna start Heartless Hunter, and then if I like it, that will probably be the last book I read for this video. Guys, I have to say, I am loving this so much. My romantasy era, I am having so much fun. It's been so nice to just switch up a little bit. I read so many contemporary romances and I love them, but I was definitely getting burnt out because at the end of the day, they are kind of just the same thing over and over again. Obviously different, but same tropes, same type of setting. Especially when you know what you like, you're obviously going to gravitate towards it. So I just read a lot of similar romance tropes and things. So switching it up has been so much fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm halfway through Heartless Hunter, and when I tell you I am obsessed, it's so good. So in this world where they live, there were witches and humans, and 5 years ago there was a revolution and they purged and killed off all the witches, and now you're not allowed to be a witch. So Rune is a witch in hiding. During the day she just pretends she's this vapid socialite, but then at night she's like a witch vigilante and she helps other witches escape imprisonment. And Gideon is a witch hunter. They have this thing called the Blood Guard, and he's in charge of capturing and purging witches, and he is trying to find out who the vigilante witch is, and he has a feeling it's Rune. And Gideon is also Rune's best friend's brother, and they were both boys. So there's like not a love triangle, but there's tension there. So Gideon has a feeling that Rune is the witch vigilante, so he starts trying to get closer to her to try and figure out if it's actually her. He starts courting her, and so she, to try and get him off her trail, starts courting him back. I'm obsessed. I love this setting. It sort of has Regency vibes, Bridgerton-esque, just because she's a socialite, she's rich, they're courting each other, she lives in like this grand house, they do dance ribbons, that sort of thing. I love the magic system too. It's really interesting. Witches have to use blood to cast spells, and there's this whole like system of what spells you can do with what kind of blood. They draw runes with the blood, and all that I just think is really interesting. I haven't ever really seen magic explained in that way before, and the tension is just so good. I understand now why people say that enemies to lovers in contemporary romance just doesn't hit as much as it does in fantasy, because it's true. I already hate in a contemporary romance when it's supposed to be enemies to lovers and then he just didn't like the shoe she was wearing once or something, and that's why they hate each other. That already bothers me. So I love that in these romantasy books, this one specifically, like, they literally want to kill each other. Like, he's quite literally like hunting her down. Am I a freak? Saying it out loud like that, I sound like a freak, but it just makes it so much more exciting. Like, I love the high stakes of it all, and it really does keep you on your toes, because at any moment you're like, he's gonna discover that she's a witch. It's just so exciting. And I had one run-in, and just the way that she outsmarts him and plays him is so good. It's just so exciting, and I am truly eating it up. I feel like the end is gonna be crazy. Just the way things are escalating. I'm scared. Heartless Hunter update. I have finished it. I don't remember how far I was when I updated you guys. I don't think I was that far into it, but I just could not put this book down, so I just ended up finishing it, and I was obsessed. I loved it so much. I can't remember what I said already. It was just so good. The atmosphere, the setting, the magic system, the romance, the tension. I just ate it up. I really, really loved it. I loved that it was so high stakes and that they were both playing each other but falling for each other. I really just loved everything about this. Like, I could nitpick it, but I don't want to. And honestly, I can't even think of anything. Like, I truly, really just loved this. I gave it 5 stars. It just had that 5-star feeling the entire way through. I just really, really loved it. Would definitely recommend. I've been seeing it everywhere lately, so you've probably heard of it if you're watching this video, but would definitely recommend. I get why everybody's been talking about it lately and everybody has been loving it, because me too. And I am excited for the second one. It leaves off on a place where I think the second one is going to be really different from the first one, which I think could be a good thing or a bad thing. I think it'll still be good, but I'm just excited to see how everything plays out. I will say, I guess one thing, if I was going to nitpick it, I think the plot twist at the end, I saw it coming. I really wasn't super surprised by it, but it honestly really didn't bother me. I didn't care. I still liked the ending even though I saw it coming. There was one thing that happened that I didn't see coming. You just have to read it, honestly. It was so good. And that's gonna be the final book that I read for this vlog. Thank you so much if you're still here, if you made it all the way through. I had so much fun doing this. It was so much fun getting out of my reading comfort zone and reading an entirely new genre that I really haven't read too much of before. So much fun. I was in such a contemporary romance rut and just sort of a reading slump in general. So this came at the perfect time. I had so much fun. I'm so excited to continue reading romantasy. If you want me to do another one of these romantasy vlogs, let me know, because I would love to. As always, all my other social media will be down below if you want to follow me anywhere else, and thank you so much for watching.